General, let's get directly to this and answer these two concerns to the congressman's constituents in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Explain why their privacy is not being violated, and specifically, why do you need this information on every phone call that's made by every American? Again, just the fact of the phone call, not the content. Why do you need that to fight terror?
Well, let's start with the legal premise here, Chris. And I realize Smith versus Maryland in 1979 was about a very specific and discrete case. But the fact of the matter is the court held that metadata, in essence, our phone bills, metadata has no expectation of privacy. And that's why we in the intelligence community felt that this was the lightest, as I said, the lightest touch possible to try to divine who in America might be the enemy inside the gate. Now, what we do with it, Chris, is very important. And look, I understand the congressman and his constituents' concerns, so they would want to know, all right, you've got this ocean of data. What do you do with it? And that's very important. Look, the government has lots of oceans of data. The government demands that
What now?
I tell them every penny I make and how I made it. That also is, in one sense, an invasion of privacy. But there's a larger...
What's next? I'll be there.
The same applies to this metadata collection. What do we do with the data? And what we do, Chris, let me give you an example. We roll up a terrorist cell, let's say Yemen, which James Rosen referred to in his piece. We roll up a terrorist cell there. We find a cell phone about which we had no knowledge prior to that raid. We take that cell phone number,
what
metaphorically,
now?
we
I'll
approach
be
that
there.
ocean of data and simply say, has this phone been in contact with any of these phones inside this metadata database?
Let me
What
bring
now?
Congressman Amash in. Sounds reasonable.
Well, you're collecting the phone records of every single American in the United States, and it's important to understand that what the Justice Department and intelligence community are relying on is a third-party document. They're saying that because we've given you the data, because it's shared with a third party,
What can I do? What can I do?
and it's important to understand that it then goes beyond metadata. So we start with metadata, but that it can't collect your actual communication, it can't collect your content. Under this document, it can collect your content. And metadata itself can tell you a whole host of information about the power we have.
That there is creation of a special council that challenges the government's surveillance releasing information each year on any warrants the government seeks. Briefly,
intelligence community looking at right now, Chris, and to make Americans more comfortable about the program. But I've got to add, Chris, it doesn't make Americans more comfortable about the program to misrepresent it. This does not collection of content.
Would that satisfy your concerns, or do you just want to add to this?
I think we've got a whole
Congressman
Ugh.